Hello all. It's been a minute. Yeah, I apologize for my lack of uploads. Several complications. One of them being this benzo taper is kicking the ever-living shit out of my system, and it's really impeded my ability to do even some of the most basic, fundamental elements of an average routine. I must say. Uh, but with all that, you know, the debilitation that it causes, the chronic anxieties, this just vague generalized anxieties kind of turned me into a bit of an agoraphobe. Um, so I haven't been going out much. Having a gaming computer definitely makes it easier to procrastinate and not do very much. But you know what? I have been, all things being said, I've been coping with this well. I can see why benzo tapers tend to make people want to kill themselves. Not, don't worry, I have no suicidal fucking ideations whatsoever. As far as I'm concerned, I've survived a lot. I've endured a lot. There's so many times where I should have been dead. It almost makes me consider the whole quantum suicide notion of, you know, maybe I did die, but then my consciousness just ended up being seeded into an alternate me in a parallel universe, which, those of you unfamiliar with the concept of quantum suicide, I'm going to give you a caveat right now. It's apparently, for some people, such a distressing existential notion that, like, it ruins their lives and they need therapy. But I personally don't see that. I mean, it's kind of a thought experiment, if anything. There's really no credence to it. But the notion is, what happens is your consciousness is streaming throughout time, and it is allotted essentially into all these different versions of you in parallel universes. And every time you die, you actually just end up being transferred to another you. Again, this is a quantum physics thought experiment, so it's not something that's like, a sound. It's not something that, there's plenty of room for reasonable doubt when it comes to this notion. But that you just, yeah, you kind of wake up somewhere else. But from having died, it makes your consciousness become more attenuated, uh, being that, it's with each death, according to some reason, um, I, I can't recall what the reason was in reading the thought experiment and looking into this, but for one reason or another, your consciousness essentially becomes more frail with each death and less capable. But I mean, if you look at just our timeline, like, we don't know parallel universes exist. I have a feeling they probably do, because when I experience deja vu, like I've had, like, most of the times I've had deja vu, I've been sober, and for the most part, anyways, as sober as I am, which is usually stoned. But it feels like the only way I can describe it is like the notion of string theory. You have all these universes that are sort of wavering beside each other like strings, on my guitar. And so yeah, like, they're all. But then if two collide, that causes an overlap in those parallel universes. And that's the best way I could describe deja vu. Now, I know that is not exactly like a clear illustration, but it's such an ineffable like feeling that it is very hard to describe. Um, but anyways, yeah, another way I describe it is it's like I've been here, I've done this before, in what feels like an infinite number of times. Um, but I mean, anyways, I'm tangenting here. There's a reason I made this video, and I unfortunately am not going to show you as I'm actually going through this process, but I am just going to show you what I'm using and what to do. So, because I'm on a benzo taper, I'm taking a lot of supplements. Another thing that really, really helps, alkaline water. I think alkaline water, I'd recommend it to people just in general. Um, I'm certainly not going to be one of those people who says, "Oh, it's a panacea that is going to eradicate any health issue you have." No, I think it just helps to stabilize the pH in your system. Again, I'm not accredited to endorse anything, but uh, you know, I just want to bring this up because especially for people like me who do a fair amount of ketamine, not for recreational value, but because um, well, I mean, benzo withdrawal is pretty fucking agonizing, and ketamine gives me a little bit of relief. I've cut back on it though, so it's one thing. But I mean, I had pre-existing cystitis, and as many of you know, the biggest consequence of ketamine use is ketamine-induced cystitis of the bladder. I've heard people tell me they knew someone who was like pissing blood from doing ketamine all the time. Um, but this is so rare. I know people who do a lot of fucking ketamine, like all day long, fucking grams. I'm talking multiple grams a day. Like, and they're not pissing blood, but they're also taking care of themselves in the process. They're drinking lots of this cranberry juice, um, stuff that flushes your bladder out essentially. Because ketamine being a salt, it'll stick around in your liver and your bladder. Um, but anyways, enough about that. So, um, while I was shopping for this, and that's why I brought this up, it's relevant. I I thought, oh, I got everything I need to make changa, and since I can't do like traditional psychedelics in macro doses anymore, because the last time I did it, even though I had a good time, where I just did like a pretty like like moderate strong dose of 2 CB, and it's very strong 2 CB. I would say it's like probably 1.5 times the strength of the 2 CB I used to do. Like it's ridiculously strong, and I used MDMA with it because Nexus flipping is like, I'm not gonna lie, it's like fucking pure euphoria. But I think I gave myself like a little serotonin syndrome, a little bit, like a varying degree. There are varying degrees of serotonin syndrome. I think like if you do a psychedelic, you get a little bit of serotonin syndrome every time. If your pupils are dilated, you probably have like just like you're edging into serotonin syndrome, but that doesn't necessarily mean toxicity. But like one of my pupils was like more dilated than the other, and I had a fucking crazy migraine through the whole thing. And so you know, I microdose still. Like I just did my microdose of point 0.1 penis envy. I did 300 milligrams of niacin, which is why I'm a little red right now. But niacin I find really helps. with neurotransmission, and it's one of the many supplements I'm taking right now to sustain myself throughout this benzo taper. Because for those of you who don't know, benzo withdrawal makes your neurons literally start killing themselves because they're not getting that excitatory chemical GABA A, which is going to allow for a transmission of the appropriate proteins and stuff like that that your neurons need to survive. Um, but in my uh, search for various supplements to help kind of pick up the slack a bit for what my body's not getting, because like I've seen I'm not gonna lie, I used to be a Jordan Peterson fan back when he first started. Um, I, like him, didn't understand Bill C16, and I mean, he completely misconstrued that and made a career off of it. But, that's a completely different rabbit hole I'm not going to go down. But one thing, though, that he did do was uh, clonazepam. He was prescribed clonazepam, and it was, I think, to combat the anxiety he was experiencing when his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is understandable. Like, for example, when I lost a very beloved family member, which is like the most traumatic death I've experienced. And I know a lot of people have died, particularly from drug overdoses, typically accidental because fentanyl was laced in their MDMA or cocaine. But this was definitely the most impactful death for me, and I would say my family. They prescribed the parents, my cousin, like a fuckload of Ativan, Zopiclone, and they got like pretty, in low doses too, hooked, but luckily are off it now, which is a good thing. But like I can't stress how bad fucking benzos are. Like they seriously are silent killers. They seem so innocuous because they don't seem to really even get you high. It's just like, oh, I feel relaxed and kind of sedated. This is nice because like GABA A, despite the nomenclature of excitatory chemical because it's crucial for your neurotransmission, it is the chemical that allows your body to relax. So, when you're going through a taper, ideally, you will still be feeling some rebound effects, which is not quite withdrawal, but it is the symptoms of what the taper was helping becoming much worse because, you don't have that flux of GABA A that the benzodiazepines are inducing. But yeah, in any case, so I've been doing my damnedest, and I can make a separate video on this, talking about the like fucking wackadoodle like amount of supplements I take on a daily basis, um, and they do help. But you know, I get down to it, fucking. Uh, so when I was shopping, I found this guy arrows, because I have what I need to make changa, which is the spice and everything nice. Isn't that a fucking peach, man? That is a gem right there. Like, I mean, it's so aesthetically pleasing that like I don't even like part of me wants to just keep it and like shine a light through it in the dark, and because it's like all these fluffy, beautiful white crystals. And this, believe it or not, this whole vial is a half gram. That's how fluffy and pure this stuff is. And I haven't tried freebasing it, but I have tried it in carts. These are the one-hit wonder carts. Made of the same stuff. One hit off this, 5-second hit, hold it in for at least 10 seconds. You're fucking gone. And I've also got a lot of stories of, well, doing just that. But I can tell you, but I'm gonna try not to make this too much of a long-winded rambling video. I just wanted to throw out some topics and just tell you what I plan on doing with this because my channel is so close to being striked. And by the way, YouTube, this is for the fucking purpose of harm reduction. You know, I should put this away because I'm gonna mistake it for my normal vape and fucking take it off and be like, oh, what I got? Um, but yeah, so this is for the purpose of harm reduction because, you know, there's a couple things about changa that you really need to know. And that is, like, the most important by far is the effect of an MAOI. Because MAOIs interact with a lot of different stuff. The only thing I'm on that I notice that it interacts with is dextrin. It seems to make the dextrin like it amplifies the sort of speedy effects of them, and like I'm naturally just a very sort of frenetic person, so I don't really get speedy effects from dextrin. Um, I because of my central nervous system, you know, I get the ticks in my neck, and you know, I get shakes in my hand and all that, but my hands, but you know, otherwise, uh, uh, I have ADD to the point where I get that antagonistic effect from stimulants, like even my coffee. Even coffee sedates me. Not like to the point where I'm like passing out, but like to the point where I'm like calm. You know, you know, I don't know about you, but I personally find that very interesting. It has the opposite effect on people with ADD that it would on people who don't. You know, people who don't have ADD, if they took the amount of dextrin I take every day, they'd probably be like you know, fucking like you're beating a hole. Like, oh, like just problem. Like, and that's amphetamines for you. But yeah, as I was saying, so this combination here, and it says herbal smoking blend. Um, because like what I usually do is take Mullein and Blue Lotus. But Blue Lotus, for some reason, has been a bitch to find. Like I can order it, but I don't really want to wait because I already had to wait on the MAOI, the harmala coming in. So I, you know, just you know, luckily stumbled across this the other day, and yeah, when I was shopping for supplements, and what it is Mullein, which Mullein, for those of you who don't know, is a fantastic base for changa. It it seems to really absorb the DMT and the harmala very well. Like more so than the Blue Lotus for sure. Like the Blue Lotus, you know, even in the best of days, will look a little wilted after you infuse it. Now, this is and also Mullein. It I think pretty dramatically. It decreases like just the harshness of taking a fucking like bong toke of changa or whatever. Um, substantially makes it better or more palatable, I would say, because it I like, and I don't know how true this is, but you know, it's supposed to open up your bronchial passages and helps clear your lungs out. And one thing I found with with the carts, the DMT carts, made with this stuff, actually just DMT in general, if you freebase it, and it's like good quality stuff, like it'll clear out my lungs. Like I'll just like by the time I'm just like just purge a bunch of phlegm out. Now, what I plan to do with this, um, now this is very high potency DMT, as I said. Um, the last batch I made was with extremely pure DMT. It was probably the best DMT I've come across until I came across this stuff. And I was lucky enough to get this vial before it was gone because it went fast. Now, what this also has gotu, Kola, I don't know what that is, Damiana, rose petals, and hibiscus. You know, if it was up to me, I wouldn't. I would take out the rose petals, but it's supposed to be an aromatic, smokable blend that smells very nice, and I think the hibiscus is also a very nice addition. Yeah, it smells amazing. I mean, I know this is like it's got to be a new agey company because it's named Gaia. Like I think Gaia's like I could be wrong on this. I'm not up to snuff on my woo lore because frankly I don't like give a fuck about you know new age spirituality. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's another dogmatic ideology that you know gives people some of the same advantages that they get from religion. But I could be wrong. I often am, so I could be wrong. I'm always open to changing my mind. But yeah, in any case, what I'm going to do, because it's very hard to get ethanol in my country, so I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be using isopropyl alcohol, which some people say not to do, but I think as long as you just make sure that your batch is completely dry, that there's no problems. Like I haven't noticed any harshness from using ISO. And I just don't use an excessive amount. And it's typically the mullein. The mullein is kind of that green stuff there. Oh yeah, I also got some passionflower, so I'm gonna add a little bit of passionflower in too, just for the flavor. And because passionflower has a bit of a kind of calming effect. Um, and yeah, like when I'm finished with my batches, like I'll show you the mullein that I used before. So like this is just straight mullein. Um, and like I think you could probably just use this and nothing else for a base. Because just yeah, like you can see that it's got this kind of like spongy texture to it. I don't know, it doesn't show up super well on my camera, but yeah, take my word for it, or don't, whatever. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm not telling you to do this or that. I'm just telling you this is what I'm going to do. Here's the passion flower, by the way. So I'm going to add in a little bit of that. So what I plan to do is I'm going to take 1.5 grams of herbal base. And because my system's very sensitized, I'm not going to make this super strong. So I'm going to take a half gram of Deans. And I think that should be actually plenty, considering the potency of this stuff. Because what I used to do is take 1.3 grams with the old DMT I would get, which was white, but it wasn't to this level of strength. And I mean, it was smooth in a very similar way, but I'd say this is smoother. Like, DMT is often described as uh, being shot out of a cannon. I often say it's like being a human cannonball. Like it is. I mean, it's like again, ripped it out of your fucking skin and fucking hurtled through the cosmos. It's pretty fucking wild. It's not for everyone. It really isn't. So, yeah, no, I am not advising you go out and do it. Like I've even seen a lot of cases of people who have just like started acting fucking completely nuts after doing DMT. The thing is, I did like my own changa, which was a very strong batch, the last one I made, for 35 days in a row. I did it once or twice every day, and I was perfectly, I'm still perfectly sane, I I don't even believe in, the metaphysical, the ether or whatever. I have the respect for DMT to treat the entities like they are real, because like it's just so fascinating that you can have these seemingly sentient conversations, or seemingly coherent conversations with what appear to be sentient intelligent beings. But as I postulated before, I believe these are just very intense personifications of the subconscious and archetypes. Um, and to me, I think that is a marvel in itself. It just shows the capacity of the human brain. Now, key component. Um, like, if my hand wasn't still fucked, I would have just extracted this myself from the crazy amount of rue seeds I have. But this is harmala freebase. Thank you, Jonah Charlie, for telling me about you know, uh, suggesting to look on Amazon. Let's put it that way, because this was $20 a gram. Like that was a fucking steal, man. Now you really, and this is why this is a harm reduction video. You really got to be careful with this stuff, especially if you're on like antidepressants or you're taking another hallucinogen. Um, the only hallucinogen that I know that you can do changa on is mushrooms, but I also wouldn't advise that because I've done a video of me smoking changa at the peak of a mushroom trip, but I wouldn't advise anyone does that. Like I did a lot of research beforehand to make sure that I wasn't going to give myself serotonin syndrome, because what an MAOI will do to any other psychedelic is make it a lot stronger while you're on it. It potentiates other serotonergic drugs. Now, um, it's essentially what's in the vine of ayahuasca. It's what makes DMT orally active. So I describe as smokable ayahuasca to people. Um, Now, um, I would say that I'm going to start with 200 milligrams of this for a gram and a half of plant matter and half a gram of DMs. And it's really simple. It's really simple. If you have uh, the ingredients here, it's concentrated, and then you have your base matter. Yeah, it's just a matter of uh, essentially putting the herbs together. Weigh it all out. Make sure you have a very accurate scale, 4-point scale. You shouldn't be doing it unless you have a 4-point scale, because sometimes it's just like like a couple milligrams can make a difference. And if you're using a 3-point scale, you could end up being off by like 100 milligrams depending on your scale and its accuracy. And I find 3-point scales are not very accurate. I mean, they're good for weighing out like ounces of weed or whatever, but that's a different story. Um, you got to be very precise with this. Now, if you're doing changa, you're doing an MAOI, yes, you can take them to potentiate, like, I think, um, uh, what do they call it, where you do mushrooms with, like, it's essentially pharmawaska, but you substitute, instead of DMT and an MAOI, like an extracted one, you do mushrooms. And there's some sort of something, fill in the blanks, Waska type name to it. Never tried it. Don't plan on doing it. You know, because the thing is, again, I can't do psychedelics anymore, which sucks because this affects my depression a lot. I don't consider ketamine a psychedelic. Ketamine doesn't help me with depression; it just helps me with pain. One thing though, this is fascinating to me, is I've started doing transcendental meditation again, and I was lucky enough to be taught for free by uh, a psychologist who I became very good friends with as a teenager. And the few years where I did it were probably the years where I was the most content and substance free in my entire life. But then along came the central nervous system issues, the neuralgic, chronic nerve pain, the fibromyalgia, all that fun looking stuff, prostatitis, the list goes on. Um, but who's counting? I've stopped counting a long time ago. I find that I couldn't do it sober anymore because it was essentially like the way you're putting yourself into silence, which is a good thing. I think the world would be such a better place if everyone just took 20 minutes a day to just bask in silence. But the thing is, when you have nerve pain and stuff like that, um, like it really, I like personally speaking, I can't speak for anyone else, but especially because nerve pain is such a slippery thing, it varies like immensely from person to person. But for me, it's like giving my brain that silence is at the same time lending the nerve pain a soapbox to get up and hey, I'm gonna tap dance all over your fucking back and through your extremities, and oh yeah. So needless to say, I just had to stop doing it, unfortunately. But what I'll do now is kind of at the tail end of like a anesthetic or sub-anesthetic dose of ketamine. I will meditate for at least 20 minutes. Um, Using the method of transcendental meditation. And again, I was like so lucky. I'm so grateful for this that I was taught it for free because like apparently they charge like 5 grand or something like that to people to learn it. Like David Lynch, God bless him. I mean, I don't believe in God, but David Lynch, fucking, he's a gift man. He says he gets most of his ideas from meditating, and he describes it as like throwing out a fishing line. And he actually wrote a book called Catching Big Fish. I haven't read it, but I think I've got the gist of what he's saying. Listening to his lectures on TM, and he says that there's like this field of ideas just waiting to be harvested, and the deeper you go, the bigger of an idea you can get. I can totally see where he's coming from now. Now that I've gotten into TM a bit more, um, and like it's interesting. Like if I get really deep, like I'll start having like DMT type visuals. Um, that's probably partially attributed to the ketamine, but in any case, I just find it immensely beneficial. Um, and yeah, so you know, just long story short, what I plan on doing is taking, well, a gram and a half. Probably use a gram of this, and or maybe 1.2 of this, and then zero 0.3 of passionflower, and then 200 milligrams of this, and half gram of this, and Then I am going to fill this up with Iso, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, pour it in, and what I typically do is I put my mixtures in here, and like, I mean, I don't know if I can do this now because it's, you know, the weather in my area is extremely bipolar. Like I say to people, you know, insert name of my city. If you don't believe in global warming, try living, insert name of my city, for 4 months, and I think you'll change your mind. Now, I find that in the past when I've used a half gram of DMT, like high potency, high purity DMT, uh, which is, you know, I really like, you know, like I have a little bit of the orange DMT, but like it's strength wise, you know, not far off from the other stuff, from this stuff, but it is not a smooth ride. It is, you know, that human cannonball experience, whereas, you know, this stuff, like, and again, I've only tried it in the pen because I wanted to preserve this for making changa. Um, it's like a carpet ride at light speed. That's the best way I could describe it. So, yeah, to recap, gram and a half, 0.3 of this. Going to put it in here, and then I'm going to weigh out 200 milligrams of this, which is, you know, that might be light. That might be light, but that's okay. I'm not looking to get fucking blasted because my system is sensitive right now. So, like, like, doing DMT, like I still do DMT. That's the only psychedelic I still do. I mean, if you consider edible pot psychedelic, sure. I do Phoenix tears, not so much edibles. I put them under my tongue, put one on a B12 tablet, one on a melatonin tablet, and put it under my tongue. Helps me sleep. In any case, yeah, so I'll put it in here, and then I'll, you know, dump this in, you know, dump in my weighed out 200 milligrams of this, you know, fill this with ISO, give it a shake just to make sure I'm getting everything, and sorry, Deans. My bad. My bad. Love you. So there's like showing respect to your DMT goes a long way because, you know, when you do DMT, you have to submit to it because it's not an experience you can fight. It's not an experience you can take a trip killer to get out of because it is fast acting. It'll paralyze you essentially. You know, the idea of changa is you're not supposed to do that much. You're supposed to still be functional, and you know that's what I try to do. Of course, I've had cases where I've accidentally done too much and like had fucking crazy breakthroughs that like rival freebase DMT because it lasts a lot longer. But I like to be able to move around and to interact. And the thing is, with changa, I find when you're using high potency DMT, high potency, like well concentrated harmala, when you close your eyes, you get, and typically wear a face mask, which is what I usually do. You get visuals that are typically, at least in my experience, personally speaking, again, I can only speak for myself, I can't speak for anyone else. They're about as intricate and fascinating and full of entities and, you know, high strangeness as freebase DMT. Now, once like I finish washing this out with ISO, I will probably need a little bit more to make it go around. Make sure like all the herbs are soaked and evenly distributed. And so I will probably fill this up again, give it another shake, pour it in, and what I do is I'll usually take um, uh, just like a metal kind of like hole sort of thing. I've got it around somewhere over here. like it's kind of like one of those things that you use for like shish kebabs. Um, I don't know why the name for that like piece of equipment is eluding me, but it is. So sorry. Um, anyways, once there is enough ISO, and I only want enough to just like barely be like you can kind of see it at the top of the herbs. I'll take that, I'll stir, 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 vigorously stir, 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 and yeah, what I used to do, because I read in D.M. Turner's Essential Psychedelic Guide that DMT was a water spirit. And again, I'm not spiritual, but I want to treat the DMT with respect. And like it is something that is as real as you or me, because I don't know, it could be it feels fucking hyper realistic, but I mean, I'm also at the same time like a rational guy, and uh, I, think that like yeah, I emphasize this a lot, but it's for a reason. I think the human psyche is incredibly intricate, incredibly complex, and we do not give it anywhere near enough credit as it should be getting. Um, and I think there are archetypes that are seated within our psyches, uh, from generations long gone, which I think is why people describe seeing creatures from folklore and stuff like that. But you know, since I stopped listening to other people talk about their experiences or reading about other people's experiences, I don't really see like anthropomorphized entities. Like they're not, like prancing around in like gestures. I've seen the gestures a couple times. I think maybe could be construed as gestures, but usually the entities are like big, kind of globular masses, and they have tendrils coming out of them that turn into sort of vortexes, and each vortex or vortices like is like glimpsing into a completely different world, and uh, like they've taken on many, many, many weird fucking forms that I've never heard described by anyone else. Um, and this, I think, it lends credence to my theory that DMT is essentially a highly personified version of your own psyche's archetypes. It's like like touching base with your subconscious. Um, that's how I would, I think, best describe it. That's just my opinion, anyways. And I'm not trying to invalidate anyone who feels like they do get like in touch with spirits or whatever. But I also have seen people go down dangerous rabbit holes doing that, thinking that they're like reincarnations. I'm not even joking. People have said this to me. Reincarnations of like gods or goddesses, and uh, like someone else said that like they're like telepathic now, like, and it's like, no, you have done DMT to the point of mental illness. Like it's not for everyone. Like seriously, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's not for fucking everyone. It really, really isn't. And changa, while it is typically more palatable, and a smoother experience, if you're doing, like a sub breakthrough dose, which is what you should be doing with changa. Like it should be like a smokable ayahuasca trip, like a short ayahuasca trip without, the whole shitting yourself and puking for hours aspect of ayahuasca. I haven't done ayahuasca, but that tends to be what people experience. If I was to do it, I would do pharmahuasca, which would have less side effects, but I have no real desire to do so. Once I'm off the benzo taper, I'm going to do ibogaine to get off methadone. And my doctor has agreed to actually help me with that. Not, he won't be administering the ibogaine or anything, but Like, to do ibogaine, because methadone's got such a long fucking half-life that the acute withdrawals, if you go cold turkey, are going to be at least 30 days, and then the post-acute withdrawals, who knows how fucking long after that. Uh, and if you don't know what that is, I don't want to make this video super long. I mean, it's already long enough as it is. So feel free to Google the acronym PAUSE. It's essentially like what I kind of described with rebound, intense depression, stuff like that. But like I don't, again, I don't have the benefit of getting that antidepressant effect from macrodoses of psychedelics. Like, it has to be long lasting psychedelics, I find, to work. Um, like, like I'll do DMT and I'll be like, whoa, that's fucking crazy, dude. Holy shit. Wow. And it will motivate me, but that wears off very quickly. I think that just because of my serotonin deficiency or what have you, whatever the case may be, um, I am just kind of immune to a lot of things that would give other people relief, like microdosing or ketamine or talk therapy or spirituality. These are things that I don't get to, reap the fruits of because they just don't take with me. I think that is because of the treatment-resistant major depressive disorder. But with that being said, despite all that, when I made changa before myself, when I did myself, not other other people's changa tends to be like really shitty in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie, and I've got like changa from like people who are otherwise like good sources on everything else. But it's like black and it's like tarry. It looks like they just like boiled down some Syrian root seeds through the herbs and the DMT inside and fucking called it changa. And like I always end up with like a raging fucking headache after I do it. So there's like way too much MAOI that people use. So like you really got to be careful with this stuff because it does potentiate the DMT a lot. So I'm only going to use 200 milligrams in a gram and a half, and even that might be a little bit much considering that this is very strong. Um, and that should, like, I will start with a dose of about 50 milligrams once it's dried. And what I used to do to dry it is, like, once I'm done mixing the ISO and the spice and the harmala and everything, doing my alchemy and finding the sorcerer's stone, blah, 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 blah. I'm whipping up my batch. As once it's all distributed, you gotta stir it pretty well to get it distributed. And you'll know you've done it well if it's got a sheen of crystals afterwards when it's dry that are not concentrated on one spot or another. If they are, stir that shit up some more. Because you do not want to be accidentally taking more or less than what you intend. Particularly more because, as I said, MAOI could be potentially dangerous if you're on any medications whatsoever. Look up any contraindications between your medication and MAOIs like harmine, harmala, because it could be potentially dangerous. Like I really, this may be common sense to a lot of you guys, but can't stress it enough. This is a harm reduction channel. YouTube, who's giving me strikes for preaching harm reduction? I do what I do because I'm trying to stop people who are going to do it anyways from fucking up and fucking themselves up because I've fucked myself up by doing stupid shit, and I've had to learn the hard way, and so I don't want other people to have to do that. I want them to take my empirical insight on things and roll with it. But mileage may vary. Again, like psychedelics are so fucking like insanely subjective, and they really vary from person to person to person. Like not everyone's going to get the same thing out of the same dose. That's for certain. But I found with the changa I made before, when I used 1.3 grams, and I believe I used 200 milligrams of harmine, I believe. This is harmala. They're very similar, both uh, extracted from Syrian rue, so not much of a difference. I found that 50 milligrams of the herbs, once it's dried, is a blast off if you hold it in for long enough. And I can test this because I've given it to other people, and like they just would like fucking cold and be like, "Yeah, I love my body," and fucking saw your house from way up there, that kind of thing. But I used to dry it out by because going back to DM Turner saying that DMT says water molecule or water spirit. Like why he said this, and it's very interesting because this was a separate chapter he made in the Essential Psychedelic Guide, which is just that, it's an essential guide to using psychedelics. He doesn't really elaborate a lot on other stuff, but he did have a separate chapter dedicated just to saying that when he's done DMT on boats or around water, it's like taken on a whole new level of experience. And so what I would do, just out of respect, operating under the assumption that they are actual spirits. Uh, Again, I don't, that's not something I necessarily believe, but it's something that I, you know, say, if you will, fake it till you make it, and that may sound like dishonest, but it's really not. I just because I don't know. I'm agnostic about this stuff. I have a theory that I think is true, but I can't say either way. So I would take the herbs and I would leave it on my porch. I live right by the water, so the ocean breeze would come off and it would dry out the herbs, and it'd take like 24 hours. But now that it's like raining and shit, what I'm probably gonna do is leave it out for a little bit, just so it does, get that breeze coming in. I kind of like whisper sweet nothings to it, like, I love you. I'm looking forward to our journeys and our healing, and like, because when I did my last batch of changa, my last few batches, that like 35 days I did it, like I felt so much better than I have in a long time. Like I didn't feel depressed. At worst, I felt like just an average amount of energy output and a little bit of optimism to balance out the depression. But not to the point of like delusional psychotic optimism, which I totally think is a thing, like fucking Steven Pinker or watch Wearing Hell's the cruel optimism of Steven Pinker, where he's just like, oh, things are better than ever because X, Y, and Z, and it's like, yeah, but you're also not taking into account all the reasons why things aren't better than they were before. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Now, yeah, so I find that when you're infusing these leaves, you want to also infuse your personal relationship with them. Hence why I do the whole whispering sweet nothings. Even if I feel silly doing it, I'll fucking do it anyways. Because you know, a little respect with this stuff goes a long way. And I love it. I appreciate it. It's done so much for me. And I mean, I'm just genuinely fascinated at how much my experience, my fucking like myriad of experiences with DMT, like I've had a lot of fucking breakthroughs. Like the interactions I have with entities are they'll usually be crazy visually, but in terms of like dialogue, and again, I'm not hearing them speak or anything. It's sort of like they're supplanting ideas into my head. They're taking a USB drive and just uploading. They will tell me like what I need to do to find motivation. You know, what parts I missed in my exercise, you know, in terms of doing a full body workout, you know. You know, if I didn't brush my teeth that morning, it'd be like, brush your teeth, motherfucker, you know. It's kind of keeping me on track, and so I really appreciate it. But yeah, so what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna leave it out just so it gets a little bit of that sea breeze. Uh, you know, because if it truly is a water spirit, you know, hypothetically speaking, you know, I may appreciate that. And again, a little respect goes a long way. And yeah, like what I am making is with this level of DMT and harmala, it's probably going to be a pretty strong fucking batch. So I'm going to start slow. I'm going to start with 50 milligrams, and that's probably going to be enough. I would say. So that means it's going to last me a while. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm sorry I can't show you the process of making it, but oh yeah, I forgot to tell you just for the rest of the drying process, I'm just gonna put it in a dark drawer in my bathroom and just let it dry because it dries on its own. Just don't use a fuckload of ethanol or iso or whatever solvent you choose. You know, make sure you're using a solvent that is safe. Don't use fucking turpentine or anything. You don't want to, you know, you really don't want to fucking, you know, kill yourself in the process of this. But you know, really, like the real danger again, like I just really can't stress this enough because, you know, a buddy just told me he knew someone who died from taking too much MAOI with a psychedelic. So you know, really, really do not fucking underestimate MAOIs. Do your fucking research into them before you use them. I am not an official. I am not fucking in a place to. I'm not gonna be like Adam for 6-7. Donald Lapko. Oh, I'm LARPing as a scientist, so my videos don't get demonetized. Yeah, fuck off. Fuck that. No, I'm gonna be straight with you. I'm gonna fucking tell you, you know, what's what. Because I actually, believe it or not, care about your well-being, and I don't want you to A, fuck yourself up in the process, B, to, you know, just tarnish the name of psychedelics, because psychedelics are really hanging in the balance right now. And I think we're at a precipice where they're either going to move forward and do more human trials with them so they can become more legally available and help people, because they do help a lot of people. Again, not everyone. They're not for everyone. If you have any fucking, like, even just a trace history of psychotic disorders in your family, do not, I repeat, do not do fucking psychedelics. Do not even smoke weed. Um, that's my advice. I mean, if it works for you and you have that stuff, you know, I'm not gonna tell you how to live your fucking life, but I will say right now, I would not endorse that at all. And you know, I would say the inverse. I would say don't fucking do it. Just not. It's not worth a lifetime of, you know, like bipolar that, you know, you probably would have had anyways at some point in your life, but probably not until later on. If you do have like a dormant gene for say bipolar or, you know, schizophrenia or whatever. I when I was, you know, and I was a stupid fucking teenager. I was a stupid kid. I mean, I'm still stupid, but you know. In any case, when I first started doing acid and shit, um, before I did it, I asked straight up. I asked my folks, like, you know, do we have any history whatsoever of psychotic disorders in our family? I was like, no, but we do have a history of major depressive disorder on both sides, which is probably why I have it. That along with the amount of chemical fuckery that's gone on in my brain from drugs that I've been put on by doctors and drugs that like hard drugs that I used to abuse when I was a teenager, trying to cope with, you know, the emergence of a very uncomfortable existence. But yeah, in any case, I'm gonna wrap it up here because that basically covers it. And yeah, I need to get started on this because I'm stoked. I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to trying this. But yeah, um, I've been playing a lot of guitar to keep me sane. I've been doing hauls of DMT fucking off those cards. Has pretty cool experiences. If you want to hear about them, let me know. I also haven't posted my part 2 of the Infinity Pool review slash interpretation. Um, but I, like, from what I can tell, no one really seems to care. If you do, I'm happy to post it. If you don't, I'm just not going to bother. But in any case, yeah, um, keep it real, be safe, fucking don't mix your drugs, please, 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 please. I care about your well-being, and I care about the good name of psychedelics. So, shaming out. Keep it real. Also, I may do a benzo withdrawal related video because this shit is a fucking waking nightmare, man. Like, I've gone through precipitated withdrawal, which is the most painful thing you can imagine. Or, well, I mean, it is literally like it's listed as the most painful thing a human being can endure. It's, like, pharmacists have told me this is true, and I see why, because I've gotten it from Suboxone. It happened to me for the most part when the doctors botched um, getting me off morphine onto Suboxone, and precipitated withdrawal would make me black out because the pain was so bad. Um, but the thing is, honestly, that lasted for a couple hours. I would prefer that to the prolonged agony of a benzo taper because it's just unending, and like I'm already an insomniac and my sleep is so fucking broken. Uh, and like I can tell my system's so fucked. But with the amount of supplements I take, with the amount of exercise I do, um, the amount of just you like maintaining a good diet and activity, um, I think I'm doing pretty well. I feel like shit constantly, and it's going to be a long time to get off this stuff, unfortunately, which means I'm not going to be really giving you, you know, trip reports, say for the short acting stuff like DMT and 5 or no, not that. Sorry, not 5-MeO. I've got 5-MeO. I just don't really feel like doing it. But the MAOI, DMT, and changa, I'll tell you all about that. If there's anything else you want to hear from me, let me know. There is one crazy story I think I want to tell you guys. I've got a picture of it. If I put in the thumbnail of my video, though, it might get striked. I'm not sure because it's like there were these like I'll just tease the story of it. So where I used to live, and we had this huge garden, and there were railroad ties that were used to kind of like keep the gardens together. There's multiple levels, and these rats, they figured out that because we live right by the docks, so there's fucking like I knew a security guard at the docks, and he said that, or a guy who like formerly worked security at the docks, and he said when the trains would switch tracks and make that loud crash sound, like thousands of rats would scurry out from one train to the next. Yeah, no, it was just like crazy amounts of fucking rats in that area. Um, and like I had to clear out fucking um, rats nests and shit for my neighbors when they would hire me to do work for them uh, on a couple occasions. But yeah, so a couple big fuckers had found out that some of the seed would drop from our squirrel-proof bird feeders, where the squirrels still managed to fucking find a way into those. Things are fucking crafty, man. I gotta say, like, and being bested by a rodent is fucking like it's a level of humiliation. It's hilarious, but it's very like it's well, it's humiliating. I mean, it's like it's an ignominy that's just like these little four-legged things that haven't like evolved in like millions of years are besting me on a daily basis. What the fuck? But um, speaking of fucking rodents, so these two fat ass fucking rats, big fuckers, they were living in the railroad ties. I tried flooding them out, but that didn't work. Rats, are very good swimmers. I don't know how deep these crevices went. Um, and the thing is, I hate fucking having to kill other animals. I hate having to kill even rats. But this was becoming a problem. So one day, two of them were just like they were out there feasting, and I was like, oh fuck. So I used to have this crank up pellet gun, or it was a BB gun, but I put pellets in it. Um, it's one of those ones where you crack it. It doesn't have a lot of strength to it, but uh, it definitely did the trick here because fucking I nailed two direct headshots on these rats, one after another. Two shots, two headshots from probably about 20 feet away. Um, and I'm a shit shot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a good shot with a shotgun. I'm very good at fucking hitting clay pigeons with a shotgun. But when it comes to, single bullets, I am a terrible marksman for the most part. So this was an exceptional experience. But again, I fucking hate having to fucking kill these fucking creatures. But the thing is, I got them both cleanly in through the head, like right between the eyes. Oh, the other side, drop dead. I think one of them was still kind of twitching after I shot it. So I cranked it up, gave it another blast, but I think that was more so the muscles contracting after death. But if you want me to get more in depth on that story and show you the picture of me holding the fucking rat with I got a cigarette filter, like a big ass cigarette filter, and I'm in my robe. My hair's all frizzy because it's early in the morning. Just holding this thing because a friend wanted me to post it, and I'm like, ah. Like, if you want to see that, I can put in the thumbnail for the video. If you really want to hear that story. But, anyways, enjoy yourself. Be safe. Um, and yeah, please do what you can to, use psychedelics as therapeutically as possible and not as a means of escape. Like, maybe it's just me, but I can't use them as a form of escapism. I will get my ass handed to me in a high fucking hat if I try to do that. Psychedelics are like, oh, you're trying to abuse us? We'll abuse you, motherfucker. And they do. They'll fucking kick my ass if they know I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. Um, I know other people, particularly people who are very egotistical megalomaniacs. I know that's an archaic, antiquated term, but essentially, you now consider a narcissist, and I don't throw around these terms lightly. But there are a few people I met who they meet the DSM requirements for having these traits. I've never met someone who has the dark triad level of. Uh, actually, I think one person. But in any case, there are people who just have like these rigid, untouchable fucking egos, and they can do psychedelics and they abuse them just to fucking find escapism, and it's no problem for them. I'm not one of those people, and I think most people aren't like that. So, please treat these things with respect. And if you have a fucking spiritual experience, you feel like you're meeting fucking Gaia or whatever, which I believe is just a modern day construct, lashing together of ideas from indigenous folklore. If you truly believe that's happening, great. I'm not going to invalidate it because what's visceral and tangible and real for you, is, that's real for you. So I'm not going to try to invalidate that. But on that note, such a tasty robot cum. Sorry, I just always have to make that True Detective joke. And oh hey, fucking just to pat myself on the back a bit, because of all the stress that I've been going through, and it helped that I was able to get a fuckload of cigarettes for very cheap from Mexico. I was smoking a lot, like probably a pack and a half a day, like a couple days ago. Today I've had one cigarette. Yesterday I had a total of four. Um, these vapes, they are my friend. He distributes them, and like we have very weird regulations. So like you can't get more than 20 milligrams of salt neck in a vape. This is 20 milligrams. I've got a 50 behind me, but if I was hauling on that, I'd probably make myself sick. Even though like I say like I am nicotine, because like I can tolerate probably more nicotine than most people I know. Probably anyone I know. Like I, everyone except for one person I know, I've given snooze to, just like fucking will like pass out or like fall over or get really dizzy or like puke or whatever. Because snooze is something else. Those big little tobacco pouches you put under your lip, like it's like 40 milligrams of fucking tobacco, or sorry, nicotine. I mean, it is like so much like insanely better for you than smoking. But it's strong as fuck. Like it will blister the inside of your lip and stuff like that. But smokeless tobacco is a good way of going about it, and it's actually not really tobacco for the most part. It's usually a little bit of tobacco for the flavor, and then some other stuff to give it some flavor, and nicotine salts. But I am one of those people who I need that feeling of like, I like the designs of these things because I can hold them like a cigarette. I'm someone who really, I find that those, because nicotine's not physically addictive as far as I can tell, but take it away from me, and to quote Bill Hicks, and this may sound distasteful for today's age, but if you bitch about secondhand smoke, well, guess what? If I don't have my smokes, secondhand bullets will be flying. you know, um, Now you have to be careful about saying that because people will be like, "Oh, fuck, is he a fucking like a school shooter in the making?" No, no. I'd rather kill myself before I take anyone else's life. Again, I don't even like killing rats. The times I did have to do that. But anyways, on that fucking like very bright note, shame note, keep it real. Fucking, I apologize for the lack of uploads activity really at all. Um, I just, yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard last little while. But yeah, if you want, I can go over the nightmare of a benzo with taper. Like seriously, it's like the way I would like try to probably put it in layman's terms for those of you who are psychonauts out there is it's like a bad fucking trip that won't end, and it's a bad trip that fucking you're having while you're experiencing like a terrible flu and terrible anxiety, and like it fucking sucks, dude. Like if there's one thing, if I could take back in my life, one thing, it'd be benzo use. Seriously, I regret that more than anything. And it's a silent killer because it doesn't really seem to get you that high. But then one day you wake up and you're like, oh fuck, I feel really sick. I'm like jittery. I'm like, what the fuck? And then you have no choice but to go on a taper or you can have a seizure and die. Yeah, no, it's serious shit. Don't fuck with benzo. Seriously. Like, I think it's okay to have, like, say, a Xanax bar on hand if you want a trip killer, because I think when I had benzos on hand as trip killers, um, I never used them. The only time I ever used one was like like if a trip was going like so long, like one PLSD where it's like, okay, it's been 16 hours, I want to fucking sleep, please. I'm fucking tired. Um, but that's not killing a trip because I'm having a bad time. It's because I just want to fucking sleep. And it's like, okay, I peaked a long time ago, but I'm still like a little bit high, so I like just can't sleep. But you know, I like I don't even advise you do that. If you don't need one, don't fucking take one. If you do feel like you want that peace of mind, like what I found from having one handy um, is, yeah, again, I would never take it. It's just knowing. Like if I ever got to a place where I was like, this is getting too intense, I would just be like, okay, well, I got this here. I can take it whenever I want. And the thing is, trip killers typically don't completely kill a trip. They will mute a lot of the stuff that is um, causing you anguish or whatever. Um, I've never had to use them for that purpose. But oh, actually, well, I mean, I was injected with Ativan after I, accidentally took that like 40 plus hits of acid, and it brought me down quite a bit. But like I was still having some visuals and stuff. So, you know, trip killers, I think, are the wrong term. It's more like something to mute it a little bit. But you should really only have it for the peace of mind of like, I've got it if I really, really fucking need it. But if you get to a difficult phase, you should just submit to it and let it happen, and just know that, okay, well, if I'm going into ego death, I come out the other side, and I'm like fucking terrified, like, I can take this. But, I really fucking urge you, like, more than anything, be fucking careful with benzos. Please, 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 please. They are serious shit. And it is really understated how fucking addictive they are. And once you are physically addicted once, your receptors are primed for addiction to happen again if you decide to take them again. I mean, with that being said, though, I haven't abused benzos in a very long time, which I'm proud of. Yes, I'm on a lot of fucking diazepam because of the taper, but I definitely don't get relief from it. I feel like shit all the time. I feel like the opposite of what benzos are supposed to do. Like, but even worse than rebound. Like, full on fucking like withdrawal symptoms, because just my central nervous system is very fucking hypersensitive, and yeah, it reacts not so well to it. And I've done benzo tapers before, when my chronic pain was still manifesting, and I had like the ease compared to now, like it's not even comparable. Like I used to be able to go down like 5 milligrams diazepam every few weeks. Now I have to go down like a milligram at a time. I'm on 47. And by the time I get to like 25, they're going to have to do like half a milligram at a time every 2 weeks. Do the math. That is a long fucking time. So I hate to say this, but I'm not going to be able to really give you trip reports, because I like to think of myself as a responsible psychonaut. And if my system is out of whack in any way, like if, say, like even before I was on benzos, uh, I would, if I felt like I was getting sick, I wouldn't do a psychedelic. Like, like the only exceptions I find are intramuscular ketamine, which I don't advise any of you do, because like you can get infections from that, you can hurt yourself. Thing is, I been around that block enough times to kind of know what I'm doing. Again, not an expert, but never had an infection. Um, I the closest I've ever come to injuring myself from K-holing is I slipped and fell down a like carpeted like thing of stairs, but I think I would have slipped anyways because those were very slippery stairs, and I was super stoned at the time too. Um, but I was fine otherwise. Um, but yeah, no, serious like doses of ketamine, especially intramuscular, like because it like really hits you hard all at once within like 2 minutes. You gotta really tread carefully with if you're gonna do it, which I suggest you just don't. Make some nasal spray or something. Um, you know, because also another side effect of intramuscular ketamine, you build a tolerance, I think, faster than by like snorting it or whatever. But I just try not to put shit up my nose these days. So, you know, uh, I'm not saying fucking needle to the bicep is better, but you know, benzo taper just got me desperate. Sometimes, if I really, really, really need to do it, I'll do it. I'm not gonna beat around the bush there, but because it is intramuscular and it's passing the blood-brain barrier, I get the same effect from each dose, no matter how shitty my system feels. And with DMT, because you're smoking it, this is just a theory of mine. This isn't fact, but I think because it also bypasses the blood-brain barrier, since it's going through your lungs up to your brain. Like, again, it doesn't matter. I've had COVID, and when I did COVID, I fucking hit a DMT cart, and I was fine. I just, felt shitty, and DMT tends to make you feel very hypersensitive while you're on it. Um, I'll feel like fucking, like what I can feel in my body is like fucking electric, and I can feel all the spots of tension stuff. So, and also setting settings. It's important. If you're in a bad mental space because you're feeling shitty, you probably shouldn't do it. But, for me, I don't mind doing it when I'm in a challenging place in my life. I've actually found great results from that, but I would not recommend anyone else do that. But those are the only two psychedelics that I will be doing, other than as I said, you can consider pot edibles, stuff like that. I've got a new recipe for the slime sledge, where I use high potency indica, sativa, live resin, CBD isolate powder, and hash, and blend it all together in a joint. And this stuff is so fucking strong. My god, dude. The sledge effect. It's real. It is real. My eyes, you will see it after I fucking smoke a joint of that shit. Like, even half a joint, like, my eyes are like fucking red, and like I got bags under my eyes, like, like stereotypical. Oh, that dude's fucking stoned, man. He's stoned through the fucking dome, man. Like, seriously. But this stuff is so strong, like, it makes me trip, like I fucking had an edible or something. But it's super beneficial for me and also other people I know who have nerve pain, and I've recommended it too because I personally find like stuff like ketamine and THC, um, even CBD, not to mitigate pain, but it provides a distraction for my brain to focus on, and like another signal that my brain can focus on instead of the pain signals. So in that way, it is like distraction to me is the best painkiller. But that being said, with the slide recipe that I just outlined for you, unfortunately, I can't show you how to do that because I'll probably lose my YouTube channel if I do that. I feel like I'm seriously hanging by a thread because violating harm reduction, even though my videos again are like pretty clearly centered around like giving you the pros and cons, being like you really should be careful of this, you really shouldn't do this if you have this or that, like I'm gonna be honest with you, fucking, and I'm not gonna like pull any bullshit fucking tricks like this video is not meant to glorify blah, 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 blah. Wear a fucking lab coat like fucking psych substance and like, oh yeah, we're doing this scientifically. Do you want a shot of tequila before your fucking acid trip? Like, fuck off. Like, you're just trying to trick the algorithm. I will tell you through my fucking speech why I think harm reduction is super duper fucking important. And also, if you're getting stuff like this from a source that you don't know, get it tested. For the love of God, get it tested. Do not do something that you don't know. Really, really, I've lost so many people Like I've lost so many people to uh, drugs that they didn't know where it was coming from, and like so many people, I'm desensitized to it now. I'll hear of a friend dying, I'll be like, there goes another one. Fuck. It is so rampant because my city is fucking plagued by drug addiction, particularly fentanyl or down. You know, it's Islam and a fentanyl analog, typically very dangerous stuff. Bad, 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 bad fucking shit. Um, and I am so glad I got out of fucking doing like again, my drug of choice was heroin. And then it became heroin and cocaine because the heroin stopped getting me high. But fentanyl fucking sucks. The few times I did it, it was not fun. It was just like fucking passing out and then waking up in severe withdrawal like 3 hours later. Fuck that shit. You know, I I'm content with these guys right here. A little ketamine, a little fucking little sledge here and there because you know the sledge again, the fucking the medicament of hash, weed, honey oil, CBD isolate. You know, it makes me feel numb from fucking inside out. Like it actually is, for me, an analgesic medication. Um, but with that being said, I'll leave it at that. So, yeah, give you a little bonus at the end there. New sledge recipe. So, and also with that, when you substitute the live resin for keef, you don't have to worry about inhaling keef particles into your lungs. Like I would have to make super fucking thick filters, or like sometimes just even like go all out and use like fucking a little bit of a cigarette filter. But then I would end up like fucking like so much of the THC would get caught in that filter. So I'd usually just like take cardboard or not cardboard, but like I'd cut up like cigarette packs and take the paper and like make a filter and then make another one, put it inside, and another one, put it inside. So I didn't inhale that keef. But you don't have to worry about that with the live resin. But live resin fucking strong. I'm telling you right now. Like it's like fucking like 99% pure THC or something like that. So yeah. As I said, this stuff's so strong, it makes me fucking trip. Not a bad thing. It is. It's a good medicine. But anyways, this video's gone on fucking for a long time, so I'll catch y'all later. Wishing y'all fucking well. Wishing you love. Fucking feel free to fucking, you know, hit me up. Leave a comment or whatever. I can fucking give you my email if you want to talk about anything. I may be a little, you know, off the ball in terms of replying and, you know, putting content out. But again, I'm going through a very, very fucking hard time right now. But you know what? I'm a fucking trooper. I'm gonna fucking get through this. So, you know, don't worry about me. I got this. I got this. Yeah, thanks. And hey, happy smoking. Cheerio.